I seriously thought my first video would be on the Kansas City Scouts, St. Louis Browns, or St. Louis Hawks, not the Cardinals. Play the intro. I know this baseball season has been wacky, but that is an excuse for how the season has been for the Cardinals. There is no way that losing Molina to retirement would result in such a cratering. The problems with the Cardinals are apparent. The bats are feast or famine at the plate. The pitching is either shut down or self-destructing. The defense isn't as efficient as it was in years past. The bullpen blows leads like birthday candles. Management is foolishly believing that this team could still make the playoffs, and ownership has turned into a communist dictatorship parading to everyone that everything is fine. To understand how we got here, we need to go back a few years. 2019 was looking like a good chance the Cardinals had to make the World Series, and it seemed like it was an easy path after obliterating the Atlanta Braves in Game 5 of the NLDS, except they were swept by a Washington Nationals team that came out of nowhere. 2020 wasn't expected to be anything special, but they had a chance to win the Wild Card Series against the San Diego Padres after winning Game 1. They failed. 2021 was looking like a disaster, but something happened in September. After drifting at around 500 most of the year, the Cardinals pulled off a 17-game win streak to claim the second wild card in the National League. The Cardinals had devil magic. Unfortunately, the spell came at the cost of the back end of the bullpen, and it backfired at the worst time.
Reyes fires, swing and a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk 'em off.
The result was a walk-off loss to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Last year was supposed to be the year. The final ride for Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina, a fantastic storybook ending. They would ride to the World Series. Their first challenger, the Phillies, barely made it to the playoffs thanks to the Brewers choking and extended playoffs. It was expected that St. Louis would crush Philadelphia, but Philly showed that they weren't roadkill. The Phillies escaped St. Louis with 2 stolen wins thanks to the Cardinals' bats evaporating, the Phillies' pitchers outdoing the Cardinals, and suspect bullpen management. And speaking of bullpen management, during the 2021 season, I felt like Mike Shilton needed to be fired. I thought the work he did in 2019 wore off, and the Cardinals needed a new voice. I was glad when he was fired after the wildcard game against the Dodgers, but the problem was who they replaced him with. Instead of hiring an experienced veteran or rising manager prospect, they promoted bench coach Ollie Marmol. You might argue and say last year was successful with winning the NL Central, but that was in spite of his actions. And that division crown happened because the Milwaukee Brewers choked, the Chicago Cubs and Cincinnati Reds were deliberately tanking, and the Pittsburgh Pirates were the Pittsburgh Pirates. Remember Game 1 of the Wild Card Series against the Phillies, that disastrous top of the ninth? That could have been avoided. Helsley was showing that he wasn't at full strength, yet Marmol went with him and set up someone else. Now this season, Marmol is less of a manager and more of a puppet for ownership and management. With how he's inconsistently mixed up the lineup, with how he's been reluctant to prevent problems before they become larger issues, with how he shuffled Wilson Contreras' position like a deck of cards, this wouldn't have happened with Schilt. Of course, the bane of Cardinals fans for a while has been John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations. He's made some questionable moves, but the more I've looked at it, the more I wonder, is he really incompetent or has his hands been tied the whole time? The real problem is at the top with the DeWitts. For an ownership group that doesn't meddle in operations, they become apathetic in handling their team. Even if their finances were hampered by the pandemic, they should have recouped the lost profits by now, especially with that jersey sponsor deal with Stiefel. All they're doing is trusting the status quo and believing that it's still 2006 and 2011, and this team will fluke their way to a World Series because the NL Central is a joke. For a team that was expected to win the division, they'll be lucky to get a record at 500. At best. From a model organization with a rich history to a backwards thinking and dumpster fire. So where do the Cardinals go from here? Will they sell at the deadline, citing this year as a failure? Will they keep their heads in the sand and make up an excuse for this year? Will they catch fire in August or September and delude ownership and management into believing that everything is fine and nothing needs to be changed? If they somehow go on a miracle run after this video is posted, I wouldn't be shocked. It's in the cards. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll see you in the next video.